But what happens when your sanctuary isn't a house with four walls? What if it's just a metal box on wheels, speeding down a desolate highway, miles from anyone? Our next story shows that sometimes the greatest danger isn't just outside. This story was shared by a man named Mark, a traveling salesman who was no stranger to lonely nights on the road. One night, he was driving home from a business trip in Utah, on a desolate stretch of highway in rural Nevada. Around 1 in the morning, there was nothing around for miles. No houses, no lights, and worst of all, no cell service. He was completely and utterly alone, or so he thought. He settled in for the long, quiet remainder of his drive. The silence of the desert was his only companion. And then, he saw them. A pair of headlights in the distance. At first, Mark felt a small sense of relief. Another traveler in the vast darkness. But the lights grew closer. Faster than he expected. It was a truck. A big one. He tapped his brakes lightly. A universal signal for back off. The truck didn't react. If anything, it seemed to get closer. It didn't pass. Instead, it settled right behind him. Dangerously close. Mark's annoyance began to curdle into unease. This felt wrong. He sped up, trying to create some distance. The truck matched his speed instantly. Frustrated, he slowed down, hoping the driver would just go around him. But it stayed right there, glued to his bumper. This wasn't a normal driver. This was something else. And then, it happened. A blinding flash filled his car with light. The high beams. He was completely blinded. Just as suddenly, the light was gone, plunging him into an even deeper darkness. His heart hammered against his ribs. This wasn't road rage. It was a game, and he was the prey. The game continued for what felt like an eternity. He tried to outrun it, pushing his car to its limit. But the truck was a predator, and it was faster. Rage and helplessness warred within him. Every few seconds, the world would turn to blinding white, then plunge back into terrifying darkness. He thought about pulling over. But to what? The empty, dark abyss? He prayed for just one bar of signal. Just one call. Nothing. He was utterly and completely cut off. Panic gave way to a cold, creeping dread. He was being tortured, like a mouse in the claws of a cat. His world had been reduced to this terrifying, flashing rhythm, a ghost in his rearview mirror, haunting his every move. There was nothing to do but drive. He drove for minutes that felt like hours. He was starting to lose hope that this would ever end. He opened his eyes, ready for the next flash, but saw something else instead, a different kind of light. At first, he thought his exhausted mind was playing tricks on him. The truck's high beams flashed again, trying to hide it from him. But when the darkness returned, it was still there, red and blue. It wasn't a trick, it was a police car. Hope, something he thought he had lost forever. Relief, pure and absolute, washed over him like a tidal wave. He was saved. He pulled his car onto the shoulder, his hands shaking with relief. The truck pulled in right behind him, its engine rumbling to a stop. Mark waited for the officer to get out and confront the maniac in the truck. A figure emerged from the police car, silhouetted by the flashing lights. But something was wrong. The officer walked right past the truck. He was walking towards Mark's car. Confusion turned to ice-cold dread. Why was he coming for him? The officer was at his window now, his face grim, hand resting on his holstered gun. Officer, voice, sir. Stay calm, do not move, keep your hands on the wheel. As Mark sat frozen, a second officer moved past his window. He wasn't going to the truck either. He was moving towards Mark's back seat. Narrator's voice shifts to dramatic reveal. Then, Mark's world turned upside down. A man he'd never seen before was dragged from his own backseat. The truck driver hadn't been the threat. He had been the one who called the police. Every time he flashed his high beams, it was because the man in Mark's backseat was rising up with a weapon. The flashing lights weren't an act of aggression. They were a desperate act of protection, forcing the attacker to duck down. Again and again, saving Mark's life. Officer, gently, you're safe now. Son, the man in the truck behind you just saved your life. The officer explained how the attacker likely slipped into his unlocked car at a gas station hours earlier. And Mark's blood ran even colder. The entire time, the person he feared most was the only one keeping him alive. The monster he saw in his rearview mirror. was actually his guardian angel. And the someone outside he should have feared had been inside with him all along. It's a terrifying thought that our perception of danger can be so wrong. The monster we imagine can sometimes be the hero we don't recognize. Mark's story, as horrifying as it was, eventually had an explanation. The pieces, however shocking, fit together in the end. But what about the fear that has no answer? The terror that defies logic? Our first story tonight comes from a woman named Jenna. It happened during the summer. She was 19. While she was house sitting for her parents while they were on vacation. The house was located in a quiet Ohio suburb, the kind of place where everyone knows each other. And kids still played outside until the streetlights came on. It was the third night she was home alone. Around 11 o'clock, she was watching TV in the living room. A place of safety. At least, that's what she thought. The living room window looked directly out onto the front porch. Everything was quiet. Everything was normal. And then, she heard a sound. A light, rhythmic, squeaking noise. At first, she dismissed it. It was probably just the wind. It was a faint sound, cutting through the quiet hum of the house. A steady, rhythmic squeak, squeak, squeak. She tried to ignore it, thinking it was just the wind. But the sound persisted, a perfect, unwavering rhythm. It wasn't the wind, it was too consistent, too methodical. She grabbed the remote and pressed the mute button. In the sudden silence of the house, the sound was undeniable. She stood up, her heart starting to beat a little faster. She moved towards the living room window. Just for a moment, she hesitated, a wave of dread washing over her. Her trembling fingers reached for the edge of the blinds. She parted them just enough to see, and her blood ran cold. It was a man, a dark silhouette against the porch light, just sitting there, gently rocking back and forth on her family's porch swing. Her breath caught in her throat. She stood frozen, paralyzed by fear. She couldn't make out any features. No face, no details. Just a terrifying, human-shaped void. Her mind raced. Who was he? A neighbor? Someone lost? But there was nothing lost or confused about his presence. It felt intentional. It felt like a threat. She knew she had to do something. She had to call for help. She backed away from the window, her hand fumbling for her phone. She unlocked it, her thumb hovering over the emergency call button. She decided to take one last look, to make sure he was still there. Cautiously, she peered through the blinds again. But something was wrong. The swing was still, and it was empty. A wave of confusion, almost relief, washed over her. Was she seeing things? Was the stress getting to her? And at that exact moment, a sharp tap on the glass right in front of her. A scream tore from her throat as she scrambled backwards, falling to the floor. Her phone, still clutched in her hand, was her only thought. She didn't hesitate. Her fingers flew across the screen, dialing 911. Jenna, whispering, "There's someone outside my house. He's trying to get in." As the dispatcher's calm voice answered, another sound came. Narrator's voice gets lower, faster, a tap, tap, on a different window. Across the room, Jenna, panicked whisper, "He's moving. He's at another window. Oh my God. He's moving." He was circling the house. He was testing the doors. Jenna, et baudin thoi. He's at the door. He's trying the front door. Dispatcher, calmly, "Ma'am. Get away from the door. Find a room, lock yourself in, and hide." Narrator's voice is fast, low. She didn't need to be told twice. She scrambled down the hallway, searching for any place to hide. She threw herself into the hall closet, pulling the door shut behind her. Huddled in the dark, every sound from outside was magnified. Then she heard it, a scraping sound, coming from the back of the house. He was trying the sliding glass door. He was relentless. Time seemed to stretch on for an eternity. And then, faint, but unmistakable, a siren in the distance. Dispatcher, voice, "They're arriving now. Ma'am, stay where you are." The sound grew louder, closer, splitting the night air. Finally, a loud voice boomed through the house. "Police, is anyone in here?" The police swept through the house, clearing every room. Jenna, wrapped in a blanket, could only recount the night's terrifying events. But after a thorough search of the property, they found no one, no signs of forced entry, only two chilling pieces of evidence. Smudge marks on the windows, and fresh footprints in the garden bed right below. she never found out who he was, or what he wanted, a question that haunts her to this day. The fear of an intruder, someone violating the sanctity of your home, is terrifying, but at least Jenna was in a neighborhood. Help, though it felt distant, was possible.